Now we're live.
We're live.
For the upcoming Reset magazine. You're gonna have like a little contribution in there. You're gonna put a little piece of your book in there. Am I wrong?
That's what I hear.
That was
yeah.
plan.
First part of the press tour.
First part of the press tour. I left my fucking cigarettes in the car. It's fine. So, I don't know. I was doing the documentation. I documented Chino, trying to get some like up and coming bands on here, but you know, people flake a lot. So I just thought, you know what?
Up and coming.
I don't know if you're up and coming either.
Down there and back.
If I'm being honest, but you're still around.
I'm still around.
Still
That's
around.
What counts.
That's what counts. So let's go through the list of questions and just see if we can make this somewhat. You know, I wrote the bones down. So, where were you born?
Springfield, Illinois.
We're like Charles Dickinson.
I don't believe that's.
Didn't he write that book? He was like, I was born on this day.
It was the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, you were born on this day. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you were born in Springfield, Illinois. Did you grow up there?
I was the last of 6 kids. I did not grow up there. After 2 years of age, I moved to Phoenix on the way to California.
So you moved to Phoenix, and how long were you in Phoenix before you went to Cali?
So I was about 4 years old.
Okay, so you pretty
My
much
first memory was there.
grew up in California, though.
For the most part.
And what was it like growing up? Because we're talking about like what, the 60s?
Yeah, the very early 60s.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up back then?
I enjoyed it. There was television. There was cartoons. There was Disney every Sunday. There was the Monkees a little later on.
Oh yeah,
Great TV show.
Disney was only on once a week back then, huh?
Once a week, you had to look forward to it.
Yeah.
And once a year, you get Wizard of Oz. You can't just dial it up. It was just, you had to wait a year.
No, you couldn't pull it up. It was like a big deal. I remember watching March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Okay, who?
March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Oh yeah.
Every Thanksgiving.
That was once a year.
Yeah.
And
actually looking forward to it.
Paul Bunyan was another annual.
Paul Bunyan. It's like, oh yeah, how are we gonna fill this time slot up? Must have been nice, dude. Must have been nice.
All right. I enjoyed up to a point. I
Yeah.
enjoyed living in Burbank and Glendale, where we went to elementary school.
Okay,
Up
so
to junior high, I was in the Adventist Seventh-day Adventist Academy, which is a religious school.
okay. And what you do? What were your like hobbies? Do you ever like hang out with your friends?
Hobbies were
Before you got into like
baseball cards.
baseball, so you like collecting things?
I do like a stamp collection. I had some Hitler stamps,
Right on.
Abraham Lincoln stamps. I'm not sure where they are today, but I had them.
Oh yeah, you'd be loaded.
Baseball cards, some comic books, but not really. I did a lot of building models, mostly World War II airplanes.
Right on.
Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulfs, Zeros, some tanks.
This is like classic hobby shit.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is like
Batman, Wolfman.
when you go to the hobby store and you're always like, who actually fucking?
Yeah, there were hobby stores. Nothing actually.
They still have them, believe it or not. They're
They
just
do
few
have,
and far
yeah,
between.
but back then, just a regular drugstore would have a whole aisle devoted just to model kits.
Yeah,
You know,
which must have been nice, man.
it was.
So, and that was it. So you just hung
Yeah,
out.
that was fine up until I guess it was about 13. All of a sudden, my parents decided they want to move out to 29 Palms.
Okay.
Goodbye, Glendale. Hello, nothing.
So, and that's where Toxic was founded, or?
No, sir. This is many years ago. Prior to that,
Okay.
this is where in my high school years. We're in the desert.
So when you were in high school, living in the desert,
Yeah,
what year are we talking like?
we're talking. The Charlie Manson years. We're talking like 67,
Late 60s.
late 60s.
So were you into like the hippie movement or anything, or was that
I
just
was
something?
too young. I wanted to be hippie.
You wanted
For
to
sure.
be a hippie?
Yeah, but I was just too young for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, all right, what were your interests then? Aside from like models and stuff like that, were you going to concerts? Who was the
There were no
first?
concerts in the 29 Palms.
Who was the first? Who was
If I
the
had
first?
stayed in Glendale, I might have lucked out and seen some pretty cool shit.
Yeah.
That wasn't to be the case. I was stuck out in the Marine Corps base, a little shithole town.
Was your dad a Marine?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had a stepdad, a whole other story. I hated my stepdad. I'm not sure why my mom married him, but anyway, he was like this total xenophobic Texan redneck.
Right
and,
on.
I hated him.
What about?
So my hobbies then expanded a little bit to hiking in the desert,
Okay.
shooting lizards with BB guns.
Sick.
Yeah, tortoises as pets.
Were they even pets, or they just happened to live around?
They were around. You could see herds of iguanas, not just a couple, but actual herds of iguanas, foot long.
I like that.
Yeah, it was
Like
awesome.
Florida. So, what was your first, like, obviously you've been a fan of music your whole life. What was the first music you, well, it's like a multi-layered question, because, like, what was the first music you got exposed to and actually, like, enjoyed? And then what was the first music that you kind of sought out on your own, or discovered kind of independently?
I
You know
kind
what I mean?
of started, I was just listening to AM radio, 93 KHJ, LA station in Burbank and Glendale.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the most exciting music was listening to like their top 100 countdown, the best songs of the year.
Yeah.
So this was like 65, 66. So there was some good music on AM radio back then.
Well, back then they didn't have the whole discrepancy between pop and rock and...
Yeah, they kind of mixed it up. You had your, soul music, you had your rock, you had your pop, all kind of blended together. They just were popular songs.
So what's the first CD you ever bought? CD, Jesus Christ. What was the first record you ever purchased on your own
Chambers
volition?
Brothers, Time Has Come Today.
Okay, and what year was that?
Probably 67, maybe 68, 7-inch 45.
Okay, and I've heard the name before, but I'm not super familiar. What kind of, was this just like
It
straightforward
was
rock and roll?
a black psychedelic rock band.
Okay,
A little bit of funk in there, but mostly
Right on.
psychedelic.
yeah, I've heard of them before, but I
Yeah.
haven't actually. I couldn't recall a song you told me.
Yeah.
But
It was a different time.
so
I expanded pretty quickly into Creedence Clearwater, and that was my big thing.
that was your big thing.
Yeah.
So how? You mentioned graduating high school in the late '60s, right?
Well, I graduated in 72.
Okay, so you graduated '72. So you're
They used to have like a junior high, then on to high school. Most of those years were in the desert.
yeah. So you graduated in '72, kind of missed out on the hippie movement,
Right.
and so.
Yeah.
But you're already at this point. I don't know, because obviously this all kind of circles back to like the punk rock thing, because that's a big deal. So how, and you've expressed this to me before, how you were kind of missed the boat on both. So
Yeah.
What were you
so
doing?
By 72, hippie was pretty much over. Charles Manson killed it pretty much.
sick.
You know.
And what were you doing?
Had a little bit to do with it, but
What were you doing when like the whole punk movement? And when would you say that? Like when did you notice the punk movement kind of starting to pick up? And what were you doing prior to that? And what were you doing that like led you to get involved in?
well,
that.
prior to me discovering the punk movement was I was going to Anaheim
Is
Stadium.
that not the right word for it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's I don't know how
I
you would
was into
describe it.
going to big stadium shows, seeing Blue Oyster Cult, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, and like Anaheim Stadium, ZZ Top.
Yeah.
Really big shows where you were lucky to see the band at all. They were just little ants on a stage,
Yeah.
you know. And that was the way it was. And you listen to the radio and you hear your rock and music. It was on the FM radio at that point. And it was pretty regimented, you know. It was like Ted Nugent, Aerosmith. Those dominated the airwaves for a long, long time.
Yeah, and you couldn't get around it.
You couldn't get around. There was no other scene that I was aware of until I started hearing about, like in Rolling Stone magazine, the Sex Pistols album was coming out, and they were doing a tour of the States, and they seemed a little bit different. Bought the record just out of curiosity. I thought, hey, this is good, solid rock and roll album, really. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, it's just hard rock. And then from there, it kind of, you know, expanded to checking out other stuff.
Yeah. So you would just purchase records.
At a major chain record store. I didn't know about anything underground.
There really wasn't much
There
underground.
wasn't
back then.
really. I mean, there was, but I wasn't aware of it. It was like the early punk stuff was happening in Hollywood. I wasn't aware that was even a thing
Yeah.
because it wasn't promoted. It wasn't. It was totally underground. You had to know people to know where bands were playing. You didn't hear about it unless you saw a flyer in some Hollywood record store. And I wasn't going to Hollywood.
So how do you you got the Sex Pistols album. You're just fucking enjoying that.
Right.
How do you you got the Sex Pistols. I'm assuming it like snowballed from there. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you like Devo
It was
back
the Clash,
in the day.
Devo. I had an ice cream truck route where I was selling ice cream in Orange County, and I started buying 8-tracks too.
And you ended up in Orange County by now?
I was living there, yeah, in Anaheim.
Okay.
Yep. Well, actually, I was living in Pomona, but I would commute to Orange County to pick up my ice cream truck and do the route in Anaheim and Fullerton.
Okay.
So right around the Anaheim, or the Disneyland area. So I crossed the border between Anaheim and Fullerton, just back and forth.
And you used to play punk records.
Had the Devo, the first album on 8-track, along with Blondie's first album, Talking Heads' first album. I think what else I would have done. The Cars. So it was like early new wave. Before there was like punk was kind of like all encompassing. It was like the Cars were considered punk. AC/DC was considered punk.
Really?
Because they weren't commercial at all. They were kind of lesser known.
AC/DC was considered punk.
They were considered punk when I first heard them.
I've heard people refer to the Cars as punk before, and I never was able to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
But I never heard of anybody refer to AC/DC as punk.
Well, new wave, I guess, was included punk. So
Yeah.
it was just a broader movement. There was a lot more diversity.
Yeah,
It wasn't as regiment. It wasn't as broken down into little subdivisions back then. It was this, hey, there's this new wave of music.
Yeah.
Different kinds. Everything from Tom Petty, I guess, was considered new wave at that time, and Devo and one extreme. Yeah, it was wild.
It is wild, dude. It's like crazy to think about stuff.
Yeah.
Just because it well, it's kind of coming, I don't want to say full circle again, but there's definitely like because it's very divided now as far as everybody, minimal, very specific types of genres and stuff.
Going on.
Yeah, but there is definitely the mentality to where I think it's like there's more, there's a lot of pigeonholing, but it's also like, there's so many bands that are like wildly different from each other, and then from a lot of people's perspective, they might just be like, "Oh yeah, that's punk rock," which is kind of cool now. I mean, you could definitely point out the bands that have like some punk rock in their DNA, versus the bands that are still trying to do like the rock and roll or like the metal thing. You know what I mean?
What's an example?
I don't know, like just newer hardcore, but I don't even know if you're like familiar with them. But like, I would say a band like Jawbreaker.
Right.
Or a band like Rotting Out. You probably don't know Rotting Out, and they're not even that new anymore.
I do know Jawbreaker.
I'm getting old too. It's like I wouldn't compare either one of those bands. I wouldn't say they're anything like the Sex Pistols or Black Flag necessarily.
No.
But they still are in the vein of punk rock. Like, they're still punk bands in my eyes.
They had a certain attitude, I think is what it was.
It's like the DIY attitude, and
right.
just like kind of the influences that come on you, and I don't know. It's just interesting. But so you had your ice cream truck. You're cruising around. You're bumping the 8-track player.
Right. I was
selling
also distributing newspapers.
Newspapers.
Yippie newspapers called Yipster Times, which was Youth International Party. It was like this, the leftover of the true hippies that I thought were true hippies. They were more radical. They were against authority. They were against, authority figures and all that. Just into smoking pot and different other rights that humans should have. And all that was illegal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I dropped the paper off in different places like record stores and head shops in Orange County and also Pomona because I lived in Pomona.
Yeah.
And I dropped one off at Freak's Head Shop and, started chatting up the guys that owned the place. Ended up getting a job there. Quit the ice cream route. So I was working at the head shop.
So back in the day, you could just drive an ice cream truck and support yourself? And
You could in the summertime. You paid everything with quarters.
And then... Then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go just work at a head shop.
Yeah.
Must be nice, man.
Well, the truck was kind of falling apart.
Right on.
It was wintertime. It was raining more than
So
usual.
you started working at the head shop, and this is getting to...
Then I was selling pipes, bombs, coke kits.
Those little jars with the...
With what?
Those little jars with the things that poke down in them. So you could...
We had mushroom kits. That's what you're talking about?
They used to coke kits.
Oh, coke kits were like little snuff. They call them snuff kits to be legal. Little marble slabs of the spoons and razor blades and a little vial to put your finished product into. And it was to carry your coke with you. Yeah. Coke spoons were a thing, I guess.
Did you have a extended pinky nail, or?
I wasn't into
wasn't
coke. I mean,
right.
people that came in turned me off to the whole coke thing. They were just fucked up people.
So that was kind of like, it's kind of segueing into our next.
I smoked weed, but you
Yeah.
know, that was the coke thing. I thought was just it was kind of unhealthy, kind of a. I don't know. It wasn't the same as weed to me. I was into mushrooms and weed.
It still is, man.
Yeah.
It still is. Okay, so now correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to fill the gaps in. The record store started in this head shop, right?
Initially, yeah, in the back room. They had like a little room. They let me sell some stuff like leather wristbands, buttons, and a few records.
Where were you getting that stuff to begin with?
8 Leather in Hollywood. Just get my wristbands. And some of the wholesale catalogs the head shop carried would also carry some leather goods and stuff. Records was pretty, it was, Danger House. Slash Records had only 2 or 3 records out, Germs being one of them.
Yeah.
This was before the X album came out. It was just like Germs. The SLA compilation, which is pretty crucial at the time.
Yeah.
And
I'm familiar with that one.
yeah, early compilations that had Dead Kennedys before their album came out. The Deadbeats, 7-inch, Kill the Hippies, which was on display in the head shop, which kind of confused people.
Yeah. Because that's back, there were still hippies around back then, I'd imagine.
For sure, yeah.
The movement was just done with, right?
Right.
They weren't making a difference anymore, but there were probably still plenty of,
they were doing coke.
Weed
They were
smoking,
making money, and they were
coke
buying real estate.
Yeah.
Right. They were against the whole hippie principles, and they're becoming very selfish, greedy, capitalist pigs.
Yeah. That's pretty straightforward, man. It's once you get past that, I don't know. It seems like that happens to a lot of movements.
Yeah.
Although I think they've mixed it nowadays because they made it so hard to fucking be a greedy capitalist in modern.
Yeah, modern times.
Modern times,
yeah,
it's like
were different
you
days.
can't just make money and shit on people with no money. It's like now they're just like nobody makes money. So
Right.
maybe that'll end well. Maybe maybe some of these movements will get some momentum out of it.
Maybe, but I don't know.
But,
I had hopes back then, but I don't know now.
So you started selling secondhand records and some accessories essentially.
Not even secondhand. No, it was just new stuff.
You were just getting the records sent in.
I would read magazines and order through the mail.
Yeah.
Sometimes by phone. There's only ways you could do stuff. Is write people a letter. Hey, can you send me a wholesale list of your stuff? I have this record shop in Pomona. I want to carry some of your stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how it began.
So you're selling records in the background. You're selling
The
wristbands.
head shop, yeah.
Wristbands, buttons,
Wristbands, Germs albums.
and the Germs. Selling all the punk records, all 3 of the punk records.
Yeah, all 3 punk records that were out at the time.
All 3. And you got some wristbands and you got some buttons.
You got some posters.
So you got a little.
That was it.
You got a little junk at this point.
Yeah, just a little.
And it's all
Trinkets.
new. So.
Because it was brand new.
What was the name of the head shop?
Well, it was called Freaks at first.
Freaks Head Shop.
But then the cops were kind of closing in on paraphernalia sellers.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to be so outlandish. They wanted to tone it down a little bit. So they called it Gravity's Foe.
Okay.
Which was stupid to me, but
that's dumb as hell.
Yeah.
That's not.
They want to say,
that's way better. That's way worse than Freaks.
Right. We just sell incense and we sell tobacco pipes.
Yeah. Well, I remember head shops used to be a little edgy, but they've always been around.
Yeah, but Freaks initially they were cool. They carried all the Zap comics. They carried a lot of, they carried the Anarchist Cookbook. They carried a lot of alternative literature and stuff like that, and some pseudo-legal equipment where you can make hash oil and mushrooms and things that were just barely.
So how did that transition into Toxic Shop?
Okay, well, they realized there wasn't at that time a lot of money in the punk rock things. Says no, this isn't going to work out. It's just confusing our regular customers. You're kind of
because of the backroom operation.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
So you're a little too shady for.
I don't know if I look shady. But
you guys are a little too weird for Freaks Head Shop.
The people that came over were shady. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. You're making the cokeheads uncomfortable.
It made the our clientele in the back room made the cokeheads uncomfortable for sure.
Okay.
So he says, "Yeah, this is fine, but we're going to call it. We're going to cut it. We're going to cut the cord."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, fine." So I started looking around for cheap places to rent, and in Pomona that was the place because it was a crime-ridden, suburb, but very sketchy neighborhoods. So I found a really cheap place down the street, about a half mile. It was for rent for like $150 a month, I think, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So I got the space figured out. I borrowed some money from my older brother to get some inventory. So things were starting to snowball as far as records coming out. There was some plasmatics, there was kind of a happening, phenomena, and there was other weird stuff going on, Throbbing Gristle, and there was Rough Trade was putting out like The Fall and Cabaret Voltaire, and there was the Dead Kennedys' first album was coming out, Circle Jerk's first album came out, Black Flag, Jealous Again.
Where were you learning about all this? Just from magazines? Which magazines were you reading?
Mainly Slash magazine, which was the big influencer of the times.
Yeah.
And there was also Flip Side, but that was smaller, not as influential, but that got bigger later on. This is a good 5 years before Maximum Rock and Roll. So it was just Slash, there was Bump, and there was Flip Side. And then there was the New Yorker for other city stuff. You could get
the New Yorker.
Yeah, the Rocker, I think, was in San Francisco. So there's also some smaller zines like Sniff and Glues in the UK. So you read a lot of printed material to find out what was happening.
And that's crazy though. There was like a whole network.
There was a network all in print.
This is kind of what I'm literally trying to do.
Yeah, you're trying to revive.
That's what I'm kind of trying to do. Well, it's only a matter of time, man. The fucking phone fries your brain, dude. I was trying to write something yesterday, and I had to like lock my phone in the other room because it kept on making noises, and every time I pick it up, I'll just stare at it for 25 minutes.
I get it.
And I was like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, it'll suck.
It'll
suck your soul.
I gotta get done with this, and yeah, it's just interesting, man. It's just impressive how these things could kind of sustain themselves with no.
It was just ads that little
Back
labels
up.
would put ads in these different magazines, and you go, wow, cool. This band called DOA out of Vancouver. That sounds interesting.
So what year are we looking at when you rented the space?
1980.
1980 is when you rented the space, and how long have you been at the head shop?
I was still working at the head shop, and I think I quit at first because I was so pissed off they closed down my room in the back.
Yeah.
I said, okay, fine, I'm going to quit. I'm going to try my own thing for a while.
Yeah.
I did that probably 6 months to a year until things kind of fell apart thanks to some people that were I was renting some rooms out to in the head shop, in the record store. So that's a whole other story. It's another part of it.
But my question is,
okay,
just to get the timeline straight.
Right. 80, 81.
You're running around, you're bumping Devo in the ice cream truck.
Yeah.
That's really, first of all, I think that's your real bag, dude. This whole record store thing was pretty cool, but I think probably should have stuck with the ice cream thing.
I probably could have done that. If I was more mechanically inclined and could fix the
fix the truck.
Issues with the truck.
No, I'm just kidding.
But it would have been.
So when you stopped driving the ice cream truck, what year is that? When you stopped driving the ice cream truck,
That was
start
like
working at the head
79,
shop?
I guess.
79.
Yeah.
So you worked at the head shop for like a year. In that year's time,
at least a year, I guess.
you missed. Well, you were at the head shop. How long were you at the head shop before you decided to try?
I quit. Then I came back, and I was there for a couple more years. And the owners decided they wanted to get out of the business, and they said, "Hey, you want to take over this business? You just pay us off
Yeah.
so much money." And I knew that there was enough mannitol that made a whole lot of money. You get these cubes from Italy that cost you 25 cents.
Yeah.
And that cube you can sell for $20.
What was mannitol?
It was a cut for cocaine.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It was a baby laxative.
Oh yeah.
It's what people used to, because this is before freebasing. This is when people actually had crystal cocaine they would, mix with the mannitol to stretch it. Out.
You can still buy cut at the smoke shops, by the way.
But then freebase started happening.
so.
Then we started selling freebase pipes. That was pre-crack. It was like before crack there was freebase.
Yeah.
Still expensive. Crack became affordable. That was later.
Crack was cheap, which
Yeah.
is good. So, did you bought the smoke shop?
I bought the smoke shop.
And now
Punk rock was still getting bigger and bigger, snowballing every month.
Yeah.
There was more exciting things happening.
So you're running the smoke shop now.
The smoke shop.
Did you remarry the locations? You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of hopping around in those days, man. We had 5 different locations with a period of a few years.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Good pause.
Yeah, we
Save some tape.
I can't save the tape, but I gotta go to my car.
All right.
But don't move.
All right. What are we doing?
Oh, there's my keys.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Let's see.
We're good to go.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
when you run the smoke shop, you were bouncing all over the place with the locations of the store. When did you settle on Toxic Shock?
Well, that was when I.
And was that the name of the store first, or was it the record label?
It was a store.
Okay.
It was when I got kicked out of the back room and I found my own place.
Yeah.
And I was kicking around ideas what to call it. And my older sister, Judy, there was this thing going on in the news called Toxic Shock, which was a deadly disease that was caused by tampons.
Nice.
She says, why don't you call it Toxic Shock? I go, wow, that's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
So that's where it started.
So, Toxic Shock was founded in 1980.
Yeah, we had some tampons in the
For all intents and purposes.
display case.
You had tampons?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
Just for effect. Just for ambience.
so you're
I
running
also had a Reagan dildo. That was a year or two later.
Yeah, you guys had some interesting trinkets at the old place. I remember that.
Yeah.
And that was way later, but I guess you had time to accumulate.
I guess, yeah, we weren't a typical record store because we had ashtrays, we had couches.
You sold couches?
No, we had just a store couch.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of a place like, people would hang out there a lot.
There wasn't much going on back then in Pomona,
Not
right?
in Pomona, I started to do a couple of shows, and there was this little dude, he had this arts building, a little tiny space. It was like, kind of like here in Tucson, the,
Solar Culture?
no, smaller than that. That other place was at Dry River.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like the size of Dry River, but it was like, he was doing it in the late 70s through the 80s. And little bands could play, anybody could play there.
So, you got the store going, you're kind of running the smoke shop and the...
Yeah, the smoke shop was making money. All of a sudden I had all this money.
Yeah.
And punk rock was getting bigger.
Yeah.
So instead of putting money into more
Smoke shop stuff.
smoke shop, I put that money into records.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that starts to snowball. You said you were throwing shows at the store, even in the beginning?
Well, there was Christian Death did their first show at the store, but not really in the store so much. We rented out a boxing gym
Okay.
in the really ghetto part of Pomona.
But you sponsored it, essentially.
Yeah, because there were bands that wanted to come to town to play shows, like the Subhumans from Canada. That was the first show. And there was Christian Death, which wanted to play a show. They never did that before.
And they were from Pomona as well.
Yeah, they used to hang out in the store all the time.
So that was what I was going to actually get to, or what I was kind of asking was, were there any interesting bands? Obviously, Christian Death is a big one.
Christian Death is probably the better known band.
Were there any interesting bands that were kind of like functioning in Pomona and got their start playing your shows? Aside from them?
There was Red Brigade, which changed their name to Kent State. I don't know how big they got. They run a Posh Boy compilation. Manson Youth, they had their own little following. They weren't that popular outside of Pomona. They're more like almost a gang, kind of like a suicidal thing.
Yeah.
But they were like from Chino,
Yeah.
which was the real sticks. It was out where the cows would go to pasture or whatever. That's
Yeah.
where they started from. There was Modern Industry from Covina, which is over the hill, and that's where Rick Old Rick was from. And it was a small scene, but it was kind of happening. There was other stuff that, like the Circle Jerks wanted to come to Pomona to play a show.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. So they rented out a place in Ontario for them to play a show. Anyway, the boxing gym, I started doing shows there. There were a total of 4 of them. In late 80 and the early 81 is when I did those.
Yeah.
And those got pretty big. There were people coming from Orange County, from LA. You know, they were pretty well attended, big, you know, big shows.
So when
Social Distortion played all 3 of them, I think. Adolescents played 2 of the shows.
we're gonna touch on that Mike Ness story in a second. That's fucking funny. So yeah, they were from Pomona too, huh? No, they were from Orange County.
Yeah, they're Orange County. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adolescents and Social Distortion were kind of the same inbred family of kids.
Yeah.
There was TSOL, and there was DI started when they were in Pomona because Casey started the band when he had a house. I think it was a member of his family had a really cheap place for him to live in Pomona, so he was doing drugs and music in Pomona when he started DI.
So you did the 4 shows at the boxing gym. When did the record stores picking up steam?
It's still picking up steam as we're
It
doing
was like the
this.
movement was growing.
It was
kind of-
growing day by day.
You were there at like the start of it, and it was
Yeah,
just
I was there at the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
no doubt about it.
how'd the label start then?
Label started because of Christian Death initially,
Okay.
because they had a thing where Roz and his boyfriend Ron were roommates of mine in the store that had enough space in the back for me and Juliana to have a bedroom, and they could have their bedroom. They had a bathroom, had a kitchen. It was like a full functioning 2-bedroom apartment
Okay.
in the back of the store, because it used to be an appliance store, so washers and dryers. It was a bigger space.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lot of drugs, a lot of heroin, doing a lot of S&M, B&D, and they're selling a lot of LSD. Somebody was. Sugar cubes. There was a person that had a connection in San Francisco, some pure LSD drops.
Yeah.
So that was going on. So there was a lot of drugs, some sort of types. And anyway, the heroin users ended up kind of screwing up their store. I'm good.
Is this mine?
That's yours. I think it might be.
Needles.
So anyway, there was a point where I was getting ripped off by the Christian Death singer and his friend, and lady friend, whatever. They were stealing records. I put them in charge of running the store when I wasn't there.
Yeah.
They were taking cash.
Yeah.
And so it finally dawned on me, hey, this isn't working out. So he said, hey, you guys aren't paying rent like you're supposed to. You got to go. They just sort of, didn't take it seriously. So I said, you got to leave. And they still didn't take it seriously. So Julianne and myself, we took all their crap, their possessions, and set it outside in the alley.
Yeah.
And we changed the keys in the lock and walked up. And then they came back a couple of days later and smashed all our windows.
Yeah.
There was a lot of glass.
So you put the record out.
Well, that inspired me to start a band called Muslim Birth.
Okay.
Okay, as a response to Christian Death and that whole experience.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, we got this thing, we got this cool song. We did a parody of Christian Death. We dressed up in white, pancake makeup and black wigs, and we had styrofoam crucifixes and flowers in our guitars and all this kind of pseudo-gothic thing. Just a total burn on Christian Death's image and following.
Yeah.
We did that, played a couple shows. People thought it was amusing. And so, within a year or so, we said, we should really record that song, the Horror Snore song. We should put it out on record. Next step is a guy who had a polka show in KSBC, Claremont, underground radio station, walks in the store, the record shop. Hey, you guys sell records? I go, yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm Leonard from the polka show. Okay, cool. Nice to meet you, Leonard. You ever think about putting out records? I go, what do you mean, Leonard? Putting out records instead of just selling them, making them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leonard, that sounds like a good idea. So that has sort of instigated the whole thought to put a record label together. So we did that with 3 other Pomona bands, area bands, including Manson Youth and Kent State and Modern Industry. We put a 4-band compilation on a 7-inch. That was the first record label release under Toxic Shock.
Okay. And what was that compilation
Noise
called?
from Nowhere.
Noise from Nowhere?
Yeah, number 1.
All right. So that actually does remind me, because I was going to touch on that. I wasn't sure what the time frame was. When did you meet Juliana?
81, I want to say. She came around the shop with a big bottle of wine, kept coming around, and with her younger sister and a friend of hers, and we sort of, hit it off. And she ended up moving into the back room of the second shop.
Right on.
When Roz and Ron were doing their thing, we were doing our thing.
Right on. Yeah, because I wasn't sure when that was.
That would have been 81, I guess.
81.
Yeah.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
And you were with her all the way through, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the book is pretty much a tribute to our journey together, 38 years of running a punk rock record store.
And she had a lot to do with it, huh?
Yeah, because I was kind of lackadaisical as far as the business acumen of things.
Yeah.
And she came from, she had a lot of experience working for the Broadway, which was a big department store back then. She was in the collections department, so she knew some of the basic business, workings of being a capitalist.
No, it was funny because back then you'd get a job and actually pick up skills.
Yeah, she had those skills.
They didn't set it up so you couldn't learn
I was doing
anything.
this little thing where I made a little catalog, and I put ads in magazines like Cream and Circus and Trouser Press. For sent away for a catalog, and had like maybe 25, 30. Every year it got bigger, but started out maybe with 20 different records I had for sale by mail order. And I had all these orders coming in. I was surprised by how many I got. I was kind of overwhelmed, actually.
So at this point was no, I don't want to do that. At this point was this whole endeavor like profitable for you?
After Ron and Roz got evicted, punk rock still was snowballing big time, and we kind of retreated for a few months, just doing mail order out of the house, working for the head shop again until we were able to buy it, and then it got profitable. Yeah, I think '83 and '84 are two of our best years ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, no, I'd imagine just being in the position you were, it had to be like. I'm sure you weren't like getting loaded off of it, but it had to be.
Well,
if there was ever a time and a place to make money off of it.
Yeah, you catch it when it begins. You don't catch it on the tail end. And we caught it when it began. Just started carrying some of these independent labels in our catalog, and of course in the store. And then the catalog ended up being we became a wholesale distributor. So we were wholesaling Germs albums and Circle Jerks and Dead Kennedys to other stores all over the country and all over the world. And things were really
through your own catalog, though. Toxic Shock.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a distribution company, which was where the money really was.
Yeah.
So wholesaling all this stuff to other shops.
And so, okay, Juliana comes in the picture around 81.
It helps me organize the business and
helps you get the business
sees
rolling.
my drawer of a bunch of paper of orders. Said, what the hell's all this? Well, these orders I got, I've been trying to ship them out as soon as I can, but I said, well, here, she helped me get it organized. We got a real work ethic going and a real, regiment involved to get her, make trips to the post office on a regular basis and keep people happy, keep them coming back for more.
And
get a happy customer, they keep coming back.
You start releasing records under Toxic Shock.
On Toxic Shock, that one, and
through the Polka Guy.
Through the Polka Guy for the first 4 records was the Polka Guy.
And what happened after that? The Polka Guy.
Well, then we realized where the Polka Guy was getting the records made. He was just a middleman. We didn't need the middleman anymore. We just went to Rainbow and said, hey, we got a record label. Can you help us with our next album? It's D-Cry, pretty well-known Southern California band. They were playing a lot of big shows. The Golden Voice was putting on. They were also popular with Thrasher magazine at the time. A good, solid punk band, kind of like a T.S.O.L.
So let's.
So that was the big album that kind of was really helped put us on the map. That and
D-Cry.
D-Cry. Prior to that was the Barricaded Suspects compilation LP, which had 20 different bands on it.
So yeah, what were your first? What were your first 4 releases? Let's just say that for the sake of brevity.
Noise from Nowhere.
Noise from Nowhere.
Modern Industry. 7-inch. Massacre Guys from Salt Lake City, who actually became, 2 of those guys are now in the Descendants. And then there was Red Tide from Victoria, BC.
Okay. And then your breakout record was The Cry?
We did the compilation album, Barricaded Suspects. D-Cry was on it, Peace Corps was on it. The other bands I mentioned, Massacre Guys, Red Tide, a bunch of other Pomona bands and bands from all over the country, including Roach Motel from Florida. We had some band from Boston, BIU. We had Septic Death from Idaho.
With
I
Plus
wanted
Head.
to do bands that were like not from the major cities.
Yeah.
You know, that was the whole. Those bands were doing great. They had a lot of they had their own labels in their own towns. They were doing fantastic. But some of these bands like from Idaho and Florida, you know, I wanted to give the underdogs more exposure. So I put them all together in the Barricaded Suspects album. And then follow that pretty quickly with Decry album.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start Peace Corps?
That was number 6, so it was a 6th release. That was right around when the Decry album came out. We did the Peace Corps 7-inch. Because Muslim Birth kind of quickly evolved into a real band, not just a one-song joke band.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got Tracy from the Undertakers, which was an East LA goth punk band that used to play a lot of shows with the Stains and all that early East LA scene.
Yeah.
So he was another key member of Peace Corps.
And
so yeah.
So
things were, we had some decent selling records. We had the Barricaded Suspects.
Peace Corps got a pretty big following in its own right, though, didn't it?
We ended up selling 3,000 of a 7-inch, which wasn't too bad back then.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, I think that kind of permeated because when I found out you were in Peace Corps, that kind of tripped me out because I had actually heard you guys already.
Yeah, we had, because of the Pushead artwork and because the songs were kind of topical or whatever, kind of humorous and, you know, sarcastic.
It's a good band.
Whatever. Yeah.
It was a good band.
It was fun. We enjoyed the hell out of being that first version of the band. It was a hell of a lot of fun. We went up to San Francisco, played a couple of shows. We went to Las Vegas and played a lot of shows in the area around Pomona. Played with the FUs from Boston. That was a fun show. Played with De Kreutzen. That was another really fun.
Die Cruisin'?
Die Cruisin', as some people will call them.
Yeah, I always called them Die Cruisin'.
They were nice guys.
What was your most successful record that you ever released? For anybody.
Numbers wise, probably Corrosion of Conformity.
Corrosion of Conformity?
It was more of like what they call a P&D deal, pressing and distribution.
Yeah.
So I didn't really sign them. We were not on Toxic Shock proper, but we did distribute the hell out of that record.
Yeah.
Sold really well.
Yeah, because Corrosion of Conformity is kind of popular. Like
yeah, this was their very first record. So once their second record, Animosity, came out, people wanted to get the first one too, and the metal crossover thing was happening and right around the same time we did the Raw Power record, and they were also benefited from that whole crossover with the metal kids and the punk kids.
How so you had Corrosion of Conformity for pressing and distribution. You had Zero Boys, same situation.
Zero Boys I sold their initial release, which was on Nimrod. We distributed it pretty well. We sold quite a few hundred of those. And then later on, that was '87 when we actually got around to reissuing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were a band that was started in like '82 or so. So it took us 5 years to get around to putting that up. Raw Power was quite a bit before that. It was in '84.
'84. And how do you link up with Raw Power?
I saw them at the Olympic Auditorium. They did this international punk gig with the Dead Kennedys headlining, and it had Solution Mortel from Mexico. It had Riestedt from Finland. It had BGK from Holland, Reagan Youth. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anybody. And Raw Power. And they were cool. They were like really a good band. And then within days, I got a phone call from Paul Mahern of the Zero Boys. He also had a recording studio in Indianapolis. And he said, yeah, I just recorded this album by this Italian band called Raw Power. You ever heard of them? Oh yeah, I just saw them at the Olympic. They were really fucking great.
Yeah.
As well, I got a whole album ready to go. I'll go ahead, send me a tape.
So he wanted you to sign us.
Yeah. So he said, yeah, here's a tape of a really good band. Recording came out really great, and they're interested. They're shopping for a label. So I said, yeah, let's do it.
And Raw Power got pretty popular as well.
They got popular because they toured like fucking crazy. They saw more of the country than most people have ever seen of the country. They covered probably all 48 states at least, multiple times. So they crisscrossed the country a lot with Dayglow Abortions. We did a package tour with the Dayglows, '85, I guess. That was a big tour.
And they were another band that was on your label, huh?
Yeah, we did. Well, they had one record out prior to our involvement. So we combined that record with, on one side, which was a short EP. We put on a bunch of new songs on the B side, so we made a full-length album out of it, and we agreed to put it out and put them on tour with Raw Power, which was a pretty good, smart move, and because of the touring, both records started selling really well.
So as you were releasing more and more records from more and more bands,
Right.
and you got a lot of good bands, a lot of bands. I mean, once I got to know you years ago now, and actually realized how many bands were actually on your label, you know, I've always obviously been like involved in this stuff since I was a young teenager, but I was never like the biggest like nerd about digging for bands and stuff, which is just like more of a testament, because it was weird how like even me not being like the most like hardcore into like digging up old obscure shit, like I was like, oh whoa, I know like half these, like they weren't like unheard of groups,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Unknowns.
Because I got friends that like they won't even listen to anything unless they know, you know, it was found in the fucking bottom of a fucking trash can in you know, Kansas City or some shit like that. I don't know, but
yeah, I think the Screams from the Gutter really put us on the map as a label. And of course, COC had our imprint on it, so I didn't hurt it at all.
As you were, I apologize for interrupting, but as you were putting out more and more bands, right?
Yeah.
You're putting out bands that have a following, you know, you're already, I'd imagine...
They had a following in their hometown, maybe, but when I put out the record, I wanted to get them on the road.
Yeah.
Exposed, not just to their own
so you
group
were
of friends, but they want to get, a new...
You were financing, were you financing or organizing tours for these bands
I was
as well?
organizing tours, yeah. It was all done by phone. It wasn't any, you couldn't do it on the internet. It was all people you would know. There's a network of different clubs around the country. Some were just bars, some were kind of rip-off joints, and some places were like do-it-yourself venues that had all ages. And that network started because Black Flag and DOA started opening up this network around the country in Canada where bands could play.
Yeah.
They would come through several times a year, and they would tell other bands about these venues, and it became a network. Just by word of mouth. And phone numbers.
Which is
access
crazy.
to their phone. Hey, I got this band from Italy. You just put out their records. Been out for a little while. You want to book them? We're trying to do a tour next summer.
I love that I'm fucking like in constant contact with everybody these days, and I can't organize something for like. I can't get people to show up fucking 4 days in advance, dude.
You spent 8 hours on the phone every day just trying to finagle, make things happen.
Yeah, but at least it would. I don't know. I feel like there was some semblance of like sincerity behind it, because I don't know. I mean, I'm sure things went awry constantly, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You were doing the whole. You were handling the.
I did a pretty
tour.
Good. Yeah, I was doing running a record store, running a record label, dealing with distributors, getting the product sold and traded with other records I could sell in the record store, doing the wholesale thing, booking tours. So I had a full-time multitasking, whatever.
Multi-something organization.
Yeah, it was multi-pronged.
So, as you were releasing all this music, you were putting bands on tour. Was it causing your store to become a destination? Were people like reading Toxic Shock and then finding out it was like a real
cover ads and Flipside and Maximum Rock and Roll. We're doing a lot of print advertising.
So are people wanting to actually like make the pilgrimage, so to speak, to your store and check it out?
For sure. We get people coming from Japan, Germany, Indiana, Rhode Island, whatever. They would come, because they heard about the shop and the record store, and they would search it up.
And you were making the merchandise for those people as well, the bands on your label? Or?
Once we got kind of established, we were printing some COC shirts, Raw Power, of course. We weren't doing a whole lot of merchandising, but for the band label, the bands on the label, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay in Pomona?
Well, there was a little side story to that, but we stayed through the summer of 1988.
Okay.
Well, that's our involvement. Myself and Juliana were there. We actually had the store running by this 18-year-old kid up until the end of '89 when we officially closed it. We weren't even there, but he ran the place.
Were you guys in Tucson at that point?
We had moved to Tucson at that point, yeah.
And
July of '88.
Why do you want to move to Tucson?
Well, a lot of things were changing in LA, and it's stuff I didn't really have that much enthusiasm for. Like, you know, a lot of other key bands that were breaking up. You know, Minutemen were, Deep Boone had died, Dead Kennedys were broken up, Black Flag broke up. And then the things that got popular, I just wasn't into, like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction. I really had no interest at all. And they were the bands that people were excited about. I had no interest or enthusiasm whatsoever for them.
But as a record label,
but a lot of it was also connected, just enjoying trips, weekend trips we would take to the desert. We'd go to all over Arizona, the whole state. We'd take road trips. And
yeah.
I sort of fell in love with the desert again.
Right on.
You know, even though I hated it as a kid, I started digging it as an alternative to Pomona, which was, you know, our cars were constantly being broken into or burglarized in our house.
You got out here, you probably thought I could sell ice cream out here.
Stores and, you know, shoplifting and all this bullshit. Gangs coming in, skinheads coming in.
Yeah.
Trying to fuck with us.
So there was a lot of that.
They would try to steal Doc Martens and creepers and all this. It was just a pain in the ass.
What are some, before we move on to the Tucson chapter, so to speak, what are some interesting stories? I can think of at least one off the top of my head, but what are some interesting stories that might ring a bell with people, you know, akin to the Mike Ness situation? Maybe we could start with that one, or if you got anything else to
that's
go
not
into.
all that interesting, but
I thought it was funny.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to see
I
this
knew
either.
Mike Ness from, when he started the band. You know, it was one of his first Social Distortion shows were in Pomona.
Yeah.
And he was just this fucked up kid. And I guess he was doing some drugs, got on heroin and whatever, and his band was starting to get sort of popular in, you know, in Hollywood and whatnot. And he thought maybe he could con me into buying a bunch of Social Distortion live videos.
Yeah.
So he brought a big box of them in. He says, well, I don't have any, these are live videos from whatever show it was. I don't have any, you know, artwork for them, but I can just give you some stickers and you can sell them. I go, yeah, okay, you guys are getting kind of big. I guess we could probably sell these. And so, you know, he took off, and then I found out, as it took one home to check out and see what it was like just a bunch of football games that were taped over. There was no Social Distortion at all involved in the tapes.
It's kind of funny.
So that was a burn, and, you know, he was hard up for money for drugs, I'm sure. And,
yeah.
you know.
It happened. You should have sold the tapes anyway, dude.
Yeah, I tried.
You could probably get money for them now.
Well, just maybe.
This is Mike Ness's
just
football.
With a sticker on there.
Sunday
his
football.
Football appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think years later, like his manager told me that he was sorry about that. He was just fucked up at the time.
Yeah. Well,
it was a pretty dick move.
To be
But anyway, that
expected.
was kind of just silly.
Did anything else interesting?
Anything
else of note involving any figures
Figures? I
take
don't know.
place?
Well, Hickoids were like a legendary thing that I just thought was so ridiculous. That, you know, the whole country fused with punk rock, a punk rock attitude, drunk off their ass, drug using, you know, Texas fucking circus freaks.
All right. So what happened with the Hickoids?
Oh, they were just fun. You know, they would hardly ever be able to play. They were kind of like a Germs, and as far as, you know, there was really hit or miss whether they would actually be able to function on stage. You know, when they got there.
Yeah.
But I dug their music. I don't know why. It wasn't a super popular thing at the time, but I believed in their shenanigans and thought they were fun.
Who was your favorite band you ever signed?
Favorite band? I think Raw Power, just because of the tenacity, and they still are never broke up.
No, they're still hitting to
They're
this
still. I mean, even though 4 members have gone, including, you know, Giuseppe, the brother of the singer, so it's only really the singer and new guys. They're still a good band, and they're doing it.
So I'm only asking
They have a
because I
long
personally, well, I've always liked Raw Power.
And they're
man.
easy to get along with.
Yeah, they are pretty cool dudes. I remember meeting them.
Okay.
I remember meeting them here, and I was like trying to talk to them, and I just assumed they spoke English because all their songs are in English.
You're right.
And I was just sitting there like, I don't want to even say talking their ear off. I was just having a conversation, and the guy's just sitting there like,
Well,
yes.
It depends which member you're talking to.
I think I was talking to the singer.
Oh, well, he spoke fine English, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he
The
just
other
didn't
guy's
like me.
not so much. Well,
I was like, yeah, you guys are pretty cool, blah, 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 blah. And he's just, yes.
I think that might have been Luca.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It was one of them.
Bald-headed guy?
Yeah, possibly, man. It was
Yeah.
some Italian guy.
Yeah, he just spoke no English at all.
Yeah. But he was like looking at me
It was
like
funny, Giuseppe, the main guy that passed away. The only English he spoke was like words like minor threat, circle jerks. Everything else, he couldn't. But he knew the punk rock band names.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all
So, what about Sloppy Seconds? Just because
They
I
were
love
cool.
that
They
band.
were kind of a pain in the ass in a way.
I love that band, man.
But
I mean,
the songs were kind of,
how do you discover them?
They pestered me a lot. They just begged me to put the record out.
Okay.
And I passed, I said, look, guys, I don't know, I got other stuff going on. I'm moving to Tucson. I got other bands I'm kind of wanting to put stuff out. And they just kept bugging me. Their drummer, Steve.
This is late 80s.
This is like 87, 88, 89. And they're just persistent. Like, yeah, we want to be on the records, because I know you just did Zero Boys, and, we're a really great band, and, we'll send you the tape. Paul Mayhearn produced it, and it sounds great. And the songs were kind of stupid in a way, which was cool, because they weren't PC at all, because they had all these, they were just into, like, junk culture, and, weird B-movies, and
Maybe that's why I like them, man.
I don't know, they just were...
That's all I'm into.
It's
just...
Yeah, and they said, well, look, can you tour? I mean, I know that you've got this great record recorded, but it looks like you haven't even left ever Indianapolis. They go, oh, we once played Chicago. I go, okay, what about, can you tour?
Yeah.
So I talked them into doing a tour of the West Coast. And that was fun. I went along with them. Rented a van in Phoenix. They flew in, and we did, a few gigs in L.A. and then the Bay Area and Gilman Street. And the guys, it was all the guys except for the drummer. The guy who was pestering me all the time.
Yeah.
He wasn't he couldn't get off work or something, so he wasn't even part of the band. So they had a replacement drummer, but they were cool, really easy to get along with. We had some fun times in a Hollywood hotel talking to Russ Meyer, which is this old notorious filmmaker, does all these movies of these giant, voluptuous Muslim heavy.
Oh yeah, I know
Muslim,
this. I know.
He did the movie Mudhoney, which is where the band got their name, and like Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. He had all these really crazy, exploitation movies, whatever. And so anyway, we were in the hotel, and we had this John Waters book, and it says, "Here, are you ever in Hollywood? Visit Russ Meyer's museum. Here's the phone number." And so we call the phone number, and Russ answers the phone. It wasn't like his lackey or whatever. It's just Russ Myers on it. I go, holy shit, it's Russ Myers. He go, yeah, we heard about your museum. We wanted to see. We've been touring with this rock band. We want to come by and check it out. He goes, museum? Where the hell did you hear about that? I go, well, it's a John Waters book. He says, you've got a museum. Well, he's an unmitigated asshole, and he's got a lot of nerve giving out my phone number. So he wasn't too keen on us dropping by for a visit, but it was cool to talk to him on the phone.
So you moved to Tucson.
All right, so we moved to Tucson.
Did you move to Tucson with the intention of starting another store?
Not initially, no. I wanted to have a good record label, a lot of decent selling records. So I had like Sloppy Seconds, I had Zero Boys. Was by this point, the Raw Power and COC was kind of waning a little bit because they hadn't toured in a while.
Yeah.
But I was signing some new bands, Skin Yard, Bicoids, Hullabaloo, and all this. I figured, well, maybe I could just make a go of it, just doing the wholesale thing that I've been doing, and running the record label. And we did that for about 6 months or so.
Okay.
And then, I don't know why, but it just got a bug, to do the retail thing again. We found a place on Grant Country Club, and I said, well, we can move all this stuff out of the house. That'd be kind of cool.
Because you started right by PDX, I guess, huh?
PDQ, you mean? Yeah.
PDQ, yeah.
Yeah, it was on the way to PDQ. There was a lot of traffic on Grant. And then I think another factor was that Rex Records, which was the Tucson punk rock record store here, they were going through some ownership changes, and the new guy wanted to do like more industrial dance music, which was fine, but he wasn't that interested in the punk rock stuff so much.
Yeah.
So I go, well, maybe we can make a go of it as a punk rock store to fill the void there that Rex was doing. And,
Did you have a relationship with Rex Records before you came to Tucson?
I used to sell to him all the time.
And what was
Joey.
that guy? Joey. Yeah,
Joey, yeah, he was cool.
I've met him.
He was the guy I booked the Dayglow Raw Powers gig with. He broke his leg at a Dayglow show.
Yeah, I've met him a bunch of times.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. That was my contact in Tucson before I moved here. Was Joey Furno.
So
he told me about UPS and all the shenanigans.
Tucson had some pretty cool bands.
Yeah,
in the
they
80s.
Seemed pretty cool. I was into Phoenix bands because I knew about.
Yeah.
Not just JFA. I wasn't that big a fan of them, but Mighty Sphincter, Meat Puppets, of course, and Sun City Girls are all Phoenix bands that I really dug a lot.
Yeah, Sun City Girls were.
But I didn't like Phoenix itself to live in. So.
Well,
But anyway, Tucson had its own thing. Heard about the UPS and heard about Blood Spasm and all these other 80s bands.
Yeah, no, there was some really, really cool, like, influential punk, especially, I don't know, I almost feel like that sound kind of, some of the bands you were putting out, particularly like Raw Power and Corrosion of Conformity, I feel like that sound kind of was really compatible with like a lot of the sound going on like the early 90s bands, like, I don't know, like Feast Upon Cactus Thorns and American Death Trip and bands like that were kind of like metallic crossover sound, like little,
Right.
with like
Let's
funky.
not forget the grunge thing. On the side of this 80s turned into 90s, there was this little phenomenon coming out of Seattle. And I had a guy on the inside who worked for Sub Pop. He's the bass player for Skin Yard. I was doing their record. And he was the sales guy. He was like the guy that would sell the Sub Pop records to all the stores. And, I had him distribute some Toxic Shock releases because we were doing some pretty cool stuff, I thought, at the time. So he was able to help me distribute our stuff. And then this is all pre-Nirvana. Then all of a sudden Nirvana came out of nowhere and everything blew up like crazy.
So as a record label, I know you were, as a record store and a label, and you were really kind of centered around the whole punk rock thing. And, you kind of caught hardcore as it was.
We were kind of known as a hardcore label, but I wanted to diversify. That was my
Well,
plan.
you were always pretty diverse. I mean, I wouldn't consider Sloppy Seconds
Right.
hardcore.
There was House of Large Sizes. They were vaguely a punk band. They were just a high-energy three-piece.
Yeah, you had a lot of like rock and roll and kind of funkier type of music,
Yeah.
or not funk,
Correct.
but
Didn't
so
do any funk bands, but,
did you have did you experience any kind of success in the early '90s? Because I feel like you could have. I feel like the Toxic
Ranch
Ranch
the
thing.
same volume, numbers of sales that the Zero Boys or whatever were doing, but they, Skin Yard did decent. Sloppy Seconds did fairly decent. Nicoids were doing okay. I mean, they took a chance on some things that probably didn't do as well. Like
Boogaloo.
Hullabaloo was maybe one. I liked the guys a lot. They came through, played a couple shows in town, but
I have about
they toured a lot too.
I still have about 150
Yeah, that's a whole
Hullabaloo
nother story.
tapes at my house. I'm using them to hold up the fucking TV right now.
I probably got in over my head doing a lot of things that weren't selling too well.
Yeah.
Day Tour Seeds was another one. It was Paul Mayhern's of Zero Boys pop band, and he really talked me into putting it out. And I kind of hesitated on that one. I wish I had said no because it didn't sell very well. But I, put a lot of money into some things that didn't really get the money back.
But were you making okay, so back in the early 90s or really all the way until probably 2000.
Yeah, most prolific as a label was probably the early 90s, yeah.
Most prolific as a label, but I'm saying like in a retail store. You guys started on the Grant location. When did you move down to 4th Avenue?
Well, there's a little story behind that. Juliana and I fell in love with Bisbee, so we decided we're going to move there. Kind of like when we were in Pomona, we wanted to live in New Orleans. We did that. Kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision, like, yeah, it's affordable, let's do it,
Yeah.
You keep the store going. We put the store in charge of the people that were doing a decent job of it. And we ran the record label and mail order out of the Bisbee location. But anyway, I'm kind of regressing there. So you're asking what now?
Well, so you were on Grant.
We were on Grant.
And then eventually you moved to 4th Avenue.
Yeah.
And what
we
year
were on
was
Grant,
that?
And we were in Bisbee while the store was going on Grant. And then we got a word that a store was becoming available, which was the store that most people know is the one on 6th Street. And we were still in Bisbee, and the guys were saying, "Hey, you really should jump on this location because it's it's right off 4th Avenue. We got Tucson High School, we got the U of A. This is a really prime spot for walk-in traffic and everything."
And was it?
And it was happening, and it was a good spot. So we ended up moving back from Bisbee, got a little place in Tucson, and the store was doing great up until Zia moved to town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were doing 90, I think 91, 92 were also a couple of really good years. The mid-80s were great, 91, 92 were great. 93, Zia came in. They sort of took a lot of our thunder away because we were the only cool record store in town until Zia opened up their franchise.
So my question I actually do like Zia though. I mean,
I do too. I mean,
yeah, but
the guy that I didn't like has passed away, so I got no hard feelings. It's just a faceless, commodity now.
yeah.
It's not owned by any people I know. It's just a record store.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nice that they managed to hold on, and I still enjoy going down there to this day, man, and just browsing because you don't really
run by
get.
investors or whatever.
Yeah,
You can see,
but at least they're doing. I mean,
Yeah,
you can
fine.
find some pretty cool shit there, and it's like also, places like your store are few and far between now, and I kind of like how it's edgy, but it's not overly pretentious like certain places.
Who's it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it edgy, but it's not. It's not like going to a Tower Records or like a really specialized vinyl store or something. It's still just like
sort of, but not
pick
quite.
your crap
yeah.
up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they sell all their little trinkets and stuff.
Yeah,
I could
the
definitely
trinkets.
see how they totally like took a page out of your book though, because when you go in Zia, they have all that like random shit, and you guys used to have all that. You the TV
Random,
skulls and
Okay.
bottles of mezcal and fucking stickers and books and
Yeah.
and then like Zia's kind of the same way to a
Yeah.
degree, but
What about
So-
Wooden Tooth? Well, that's their story.
I like Wooden Tooth. I really
Yeah.
do. I do. It's just like, it's to me. I love Wooden Tooth, so I don't want to sound like I'm throwing any level of shade on them whatsoever. It's
That's
just,
fine. I mean,
it's just more of a. It just feels like I don't know. I feel like I'm going to a store for record nerds
yeah,
rather than just a store that sells music.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay, yeah,
Like-
it's more like catering to a certain demographic. That
Yeah,
isn't necessarily.
This is for people that are really into music.
Yeah.
That like to buy exclusively vinyl, and that's fucking awesome. Like
What's wrong with that?
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, and I was actually going to ask you where your passion for records came from in the first place, but it's also like just from my perspective, me being like the dickhead that I am, like I'd rather just go to a store where they sell cool shit and I could walk around and fucking like, you know what I mean, like, or like buy my.
That's the thing about Toxic Shock, both Pomona and Tucson. I think the store we had here, it didn't feel like a regular record store. It was more like a place you could connect with other people and find out about stuff.
Well, yeah, I
I mean, that's what
remember.
record stores are supposed to be.
Man, it used to be like every time I was in the downtown area, really pretty much all the way until just about before you closed, it had started to wane a little bit because by the time you guys shut down, that's when social media was starting to finally really take off.
Yeah, downloading was the thing.
But, well, yeah, the downloading had already been fucking up your sales for a long time at that point.
I
But,
think our worst years were like 95 through 2000, I guess.
really,
Until Final made a resurgence, sort of. I don't know. I could have hung it up a lot sooner than I did, really. But I didn't want to deal with all the trouble.
I figured your worst years were probably going to be right before you closed, but
Yeah. The inventory was pretty picked over.
we used to make, every time we were downtown, make a pilgrimage to the store, just, not even having any money, and not necessarily just to be a pain in the ass, but you had that table of flyers that
Right.
was in the corner.
That seemed to be the only thing that people were interested in at one point. So coming in to put up their own flyer or grab a flyer, they weren't spending any money to support the store.
Well, yeah, which is unfortunate,
Which is
but
whatever. Yes, maybe that's a generalization, but it seemed like I said, we could have closed up years earlier than we did. But
did
we
you
just-
guys sell a lot of, because you were still a record store, and I know it wasn't in your up your alley, so to speak, and I know they weren't on your label and stuff like that, but I can imagine like in the early 90s, maybe it was almost like playing the stocks. Would you like, oh, there's a hot band that's going to come out this month, and like, would you order
I
a
mean,
lot of
okay.
like a band like Green Day or something, or Nirvana, or
Right.
things like that? Did you kind of purchase some more like, not necessarily mainstream, but did you
We
purchase
did
like?
that like in the 91, 92. I remember we were, my whole thing was to carry only independent released records, not any major label stuff.
Yeah,
But then I got talked into carrying like Dinosaur Jr. and Nine Inch Nails because they were really big bands and bands of that ilk. They were getting signed. They were good bands that were getting signed.
yeah.
So we,
Especially back then, it was like,
So we were kind of compromised a little bit by carrying major label stuff in the early 90s. Then until, I think after Zia moved in, they kind of cornered the market for that stuff, so we didn't really.
you never got like a flush of kids, like if let's say an Offspring album came out,
Yeah.
like the Friday, because you were
Right.
so close to Tucson High, I can imagine like kids just getting off school.
Well, a good example of that was when we had the exclusive tickets for NoFX and Rialto.
Yeah.
And also for Fugazi around the same time period. So that drew people that never probably been in the store ever, just because they wanted to go see NoFX.
So.
And yeah, so that was, working with TPC was a whole other thing that kept us going because, we carried the music, a lot of the bands that we were playing there, and so it was like a symbiotic relationship. We would advertise their calendar of events in our Tater Tot, which was another print publication.
Yeah.
Before the website killed that off. That was how people got their information, was from our little monthly newsletter. And it was, mostly, it was both to let people know what we were stocking and also what was happening in town.
Was there was there any degree of fanfare when you guys opened up in Tucson?
Fanfare?
Well, not to say fanfare, but were there people that were excited that you guys were opening up the store here?
Yeah, there was a handful of people because they knew about us in Pomona. This is the same guys as Toxic Shock in Pomona. Because I heard about you in Maximum Rock and Roll for 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was some of that. Yeah, for sure. And there were people like, oh wow, finally a punk rock record store in Tucson. Rex hasn't been what they were for a few years, so they were excited that there was punk rock wasn't entirely dead.
And what Tucson bands did you guys put out?
There was the Fells. There was this old garage rock thing they were really supportive of. They were like big proponents of vinyl before that became trendy. Feast Upon Cactus Thorns, just because, again, one of them worked for me, but I also like their music, and they're super cool guys.
They're kind of, to this day, they still have a fan base.
Yeah, they seem to be having a legendary status over the years. So it's good to see. And what else? Mondo Guano, which was more of an artsy thing that evolved into do-rag and whatever. So there was that whole bloat record scene, which is more of experimental, lo-fi, kind of weird stuff, which I was into as well. Because for me, punk rock encompassed not just hardcore, whatever, but it was all kinds of shit, weird shit.
Yeah.
Shit you couldn't hear in the radio, basically. And stuff your parents wouldn't approve of. That's
underground
basically
rock and roll. It's on the flyer.
There you go. It sums it up. If it's major label, that's not what we're into.
So, what about the in-store shows that you would hold in Tucson?
Those were fun.
I remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I remember. They were once in a blue moon type of things. I remember my band actually got to play.
Before you came to town. We did pretty regular in the mid-'90s. They were pretty much at least a couple a month.
Really?
Yeah, we were doing quite a few. We were doing Alice Donut. We were doing Babe the Blue Ox and all these cool touring bands that would stop in before they did a show at the DPC. You don't remember the DPC, do you? A little bit before your time?
Man, it was before my time, but it was definitely talked about a lot.
That would pretty much, DPC helped put Tucson on the map. We kind of had a really good relationship with the guy that ran it, Steve I, so we benefited from the DPC being open and encouraged, this all-ages, alcohol-free venue for bands to come through and play.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, that was over there on Stone.
For a good 5 years, yeah, Stone
and Speedway, I think.
Yeah, it's a big building off of Stone.
I think it's still there, or it was. I think they might have torn it down.
Recently.
Yeah, they tore it down recently, but I remember exactly where it was, and I heard about it a lot because.
Yeah, I mean, Offspring played there, Green Day played there, all the big bands before they got huge.
Yeah.
Played there. Yeah.
I wish I was around for that, but.
Yeah, NoFX played there. That was a big deal.
They had so you were doing your in-store shows.
Doing in-store shows,
just kind of keeping it. And when did you end up having to work at the airline?
Well, that was the mid-'90s when things were kind of.
When Zia came
to
through.
town and really took the wind out of our sails.
So up to that point, though, you were sustaining yourself off the label.
All right. Yeah, I was living off my own sole proprietorship for many years up until '95, and then all of a sudden I couldn't pay my bills anymore.
Yeah.
And I go, well, shit, I got to do something besides just this record store thing because it's not making money. I could pay the landlord, but I'm not making much beyond that. So that's when I decided, well, somebody told me about the post office job, so that brings us around to your publication here. So that was when, I had to kind of work for somebody else besides myself the first time since the 70s. and that's what I did. And that also, after doing that for 6 months, it led me to another job with the airline, which was good because could do it part time and keep the store going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that, and we're getting close to the end here. When you started doing the shows more infrequently at the store, that was just the landlords giving you shit, basically?
Well, probably because I was working more. I think my job was, I was mostly working nights, so I wasn't able to be there during that time slot where we usually did the shows, like at 6 to 8 p.m. So I had to do it on my days off, and it kind of got to be a bit of a chore. And I was also busy with doing the radio show I had for 8 years.
You had a radio show?
Yeah, T.H.C. Hold Down Records every
This
Tuesday.
This is a good reason for this interview, because I didn't fucking know that.
Okay, that was 90s. That was from like 94 to add 8 years to that, whatever that is.
2002?
Yeah, 2002.
How do you get involved in that?
I'd done radio in California, in a college station near Pomona. Did a little gig there, and it's easy to get into. They needed a underground punk rock show. They had Joey Furno had No Bull. I think they might have been doing it, or maybe on the way out of doing it. I'm not sure, but anyway. So it seemed like there was room for that. The stuff that. I think of course, it was self-promotion. I could play the records that we were selling, so people could hear the music before they had to, hopefully that would instigate some interest.
Or play the records that you wanted to sell, maybe?
Yeah. Like, hey, we just got this in last week. Here it is. We're playing DPC. It was all connected.
Yeah, it's kind of hard in Tucson, though, man. It's like, it sounds like a good idea, but sometimes I feel like there's something in the water here or something where. So, I don't know. Just like certain. If it worked out well for you, I hope it did. But certain
radio or what?
Just like doing. I'm gonna get on the radio and I'm gonna promote X, Y, and Z, and hopefully it'll drive a little bit of interest.
Right.
And things like that. There's sound in theory. They just don't seem to.
Well, yeah.
Catch in Tucson so much.
Well, for quite a while, but I did get kind of burnt out. We were also doing the Maximum Rock and Roll radio show, which would come to me on a cassette tape every week.
Yeah.
So after I did my show, I played their half-hour tape, and that got a lot of people tuning in just for that, because that was kind of a novelty to hear the Maximum Rock and Roll show. But anyway, I got kind of tired of coming up with new stuff every week, and I just got burnt out. And plus, my job was there's only so many hours in the week to devote to stuff, so that's one thing I had to cut.
Just kind of laid back on it.
Yeah.
So what about? So we've got the timeline settled. You know what I mean? We're getting
pretty much up to.
We're getting through. We got it all the way up until
early 2000s.
I want to say early 2000s.
Yeah.
At that point. So I found out you're a DJ. Like I said, I don't need this to go on forever. Although it is an interesting conversation.
Interview.
I know.
You're gonna have to do some serious editing.
I'm gonna have to do some serious editing, but it's fine. What was Westworld?
Well, it was just a concept. It was a record label name. I just wanted to experiment with a different name, I guess. And I liked the movie, Westworld, the original movie.
Yeah.
And I thought, here we are in Tucson. Well, Toxic Shock doesn't really sound like a Tucson label. Why not Westworld? It was dumb. I probably shouldn't have done it in retrospect. But what did we end up doing on that? We did the Dry Heat compilation was one of the first things. And that was okay, because I was I was trying to focus the label more on Tucson than everywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
It was more regionally focused. And
So
I had high hopes of doing like a Mondo Guano CD and more do-rag stuff and whatever. But, it just sort of kind of fell apart after a few years.
So you had Westworld, and then let's see where we're at, because I haven't been looking at the thing. I think we pretty much covered everything that I wrote down, though.
Yeah.
So you go and you're just kind of holding steady. What were the early 2000s? What were the 2000s like then? Because we're getting close to the end. So what was the last decade between 2000 and 2010? Because
it's kind of a blur, to be honest with you. But I was working the airline job. I was doing more traveling just because I was able to. November 2001 was, whatever, the Twin Tower thing. I remember that.
Yeah.
But then was the Bush years. So there was like kind of things got kind of politicized for a while. I mean, even NoFX were doing a political record, and the things there was the war going on, right? The George W. Bush war.
Oh, shit, that didn't end until last year. But
yeah. So that was that, and that was happening, and that was pretty good. He got reelected, so it was 8 years of that. Then who took over? Obama took over, right? So I don't know. 2000s were basically we were at war with Iraq for whatever stupid reason. For most of that.
Yeah.
And
but like
the music was, some of it was a little more political because of that. Some of it wasn't.
So this whole time in the 2000s, the store was just kind of holding steady. Was
yeah,
it?
Were was.
You weren't making enough money to fucking, pay your bills anymore, but were you still doing consistent business to the point where rent was covered and everything? Or
yeah, that was the thing. That's all I was really capable of doing, is just keeping the rent covered.
Yeah.
Keep the landlord off my back. There would be a couple times where he'd slip behind 2 or 3 months, and I had to catch up. And the job that I had was paying all the real bills, like the mortgage payment and all that other stuff. So it seemed the store was just kind of like a ball and chain. I was doing it just because it was too much of a pain in the ass to close it down and figure out where to put everything.
Yeah, huh? It was just like a glorified
storage
storage
unit. Nobody would buy it from me. I mean, I see sell it to somebody that had any money. I mean, a lot of people would buy it, but they didn't have any money to do it.
When you finally decided to shut down, well, Juliana got sick.
Yeah, the end of it was really, I was ready, I think that probably we could have closed in 2005 easily. We were just too lazy. We just kept it going, just, for lack of anything else, just for something to do, really. She honed her silk screening skills, and then she had her stroke in 2011, and that really screwed things up pretty big, because I couldn't devote any time to the store because I was a caregiver for a solid 8 years.
Yeah.
And I had to rely on Shane and is that the guy?
Nick. I don't want to summon him. I don't want to summon him.
Yeah. Anyway, I had to rely on some volunteers just to keep it going, and I wasn't even there. So it was like, what's the point of keeping this going if I can't even? I wasn't really enjoying the music towards the end anyway. It's really hard to find me to get something excited about. I wasn't going out to shows because I just
couldn't.
I couldn't, for one. And then, yeah.
You were selling T-shirts out the store?
Yeah, I've done that since.
Original designs and everything?
Original designs.
Yeah.
We've done that since the late 80s. We moved our T-shirt equipment from Pomona, same equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was something that's all ongoing.
That's how we know each other.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. I used to think it was cool going in there and everybody would like consign their stuff. Right. That was the one thing that was like, that was my experience, was like just coming up with our own shitty fucking compilations or whatever, and then being like 17 and like, yo, we have it in a record store.
Yeah.
And then, but it wasn't just us though, because there was more legitimate bands that would do it too.
Yeah, there was a lot of local stuff. We were supporting the local bands. And
let's talk about most interesting people that ever came into the store and bought anything. Top 3.
Top 3. Well, Lux Interior from the Cramps.
Okay.
And Poison Ivy. Got them as one, I guess. They were cool, super humble.
Just strictly as customers, though.
Strictly as customers.
Strictly as customer.
Not a celebrity customer, just a customer?
No, celebrity customer.
What was the question? Most people?
You ever get interest from people of note?
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Walked in.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
His band was playing Rialto with his brother or whatever. And, oops, not a nice disguise. It's getting sweaty up in here.
I know, we got about 10 minutes left on this.
All right, so Kevin Bacon came in, looked around, realized it probably wasn't the kind of store for him, pretended to look at some T-shirts, and then walked out.
He couldn't even buy a T-shirt?
He couldn't buy a T-shirt, but you know who did? Johnny Depp.
Okay. What was he doing here?
I don't know. I think he just came through town. God knows why. stepped in out of pure accident, I'm sure, or something, and bought a Cancer Brides t-shirt.
Right on.
I wasn't working that day, but Andy will verify it was him.
And is that it? Is that the
Sky Saxon, HR from Bad Brains.
HR? Okay.
Yeah.
That one's a
He
little.
was kind of a basket case.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. Taylor Biafra would usually come in every time he was in town doing whatever.
Well, yeah, you said you had a pretty good relationship with
Yeah, I've known him since 1980.
and then Ian Mackay as well.
Oh, that was the better one. Yeah, there you go. There's a good story. Yeah, we had it's like I mentioned, the Rialto was doing shows through Steve I of the DPC. I guess the DPC wasn't big enough or whatever. Maybe they closed. I don't remember. But he was doing shows with bands, but using the Rialto as the space. And he had a Fugazi coming. And he asked me, hey, you want to do the exclusive tickets for Fugazi? I go, yeah, man, that'd be great. Help draw some people in here.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And there was also, during that same time frame, maybe a day or two before that show, there was this basketball riots in 4th Avenue where I guess the local team lost to somebody else.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And these drunken, sports fans started breaking all the windows on every 4th Avenue.
What year was that?
I don't know. It's in my book, but I got it.
There was another one too. That was
something.
There was another one that happened like a little later when I was around.
Yeah, but anyway, they broke all our front windows. They came in and grabbed a bunch of flip sides, magazines, and the guy across the street, Suitors Auto Repair,
Yeah.
said, hey, I found a bunch of your stuff in our dumpster.
Yeah, you think those basketball fans were really interested in the
they
flip
didn't know
side
what to-
magazine?
They didn't know what to do with it. I go, what did we just steal? Can't do anything with this. I can't read. I mean, I'm not interested in the latest Pygmy Love Circus interview or whatever it was.
So Ian Mackay helped you out.
Yeah, so they're all boarded up. So these guys, the day of the show comes around, Ian and the drummer, I forget his name, but whatever, we look it up. They come in, they were super cool. I go, hey man, how you doing? I've been buying records from you since 1981.
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, I remember you. We used to sell you SOA 7 inches and blah blah blah. And so he was super nice, super friendly. And I go, yeah, well, that's cool. And he's looking around, he's buying stuff. He's actually buying books. A big old stack of books. And, I need some reading material for the road.
Well, you don't drink, so you've got to do something.
Yeah, he's got to do something. Yeah, so he's buying books and he's looking at the bootleg CDs. He goes, oh wow, Kinks, oh cool, AC/DC. So he starts putting a little stack of bootleg CDs. I go, wow, okay, I didn't know he was into bootlegs. So anyway, he's checking out and he looks, as he's checking out, he goes, what happened to your windows? I go, well, it was a stupid basketball riot. They broke it all out and whatever. And so, they invited us to come up. They were playing a gig in Page in the Navajo reservation, and he said, why don't you and Juliana come up to our show in Page? Yeah, we'll try to make it up there. We ended up not doing it, but, it was nice of them to invite us. And anyway, so they left, and that was it. And then the day after the show, Steve I comes to the store to collect the money for the Fugazi tickets, and they were $5 each. So that was his thing. And he goes, by the way, Ian wants you to keep money to fix your windows. So you don't have to give me all the money back. I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah, he says he wants to get your windows fixed. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, man.
Very cool.
What was Danzig like on the phone?
Well, he was living in his mom's basement, I guess, in Lodi, and sure that he was, going to sell a whole lot of records, so he sold me a box of Halloween 7 inches, and I wrote him a check for him. And as would happen on occasion, the check bounced. So I go, hey, sorry, I'll get you. We'll make sure we fix it for you, and we did. Then he started rumors, through the grapevine back then, which was through Pushead and whoever else he would talk to, I guess. Like, oh yeah, that Toxic Shock, they're ripping people off, and they're going out of business, and blah blah blah. That was 1983.
But what was he like though?
What was he like? He was just kind of
You ever talk to him on the
full
phone?
of himself, kind of like, yeah, man, Halloween 7 inches, you're going to sell these like crazy. This is the best record, blah blah blah. You're lucky I'm going to sell them to you, because these are really exclusive. So, okay, whatever. It's just another record to me.
Fucking neck.
Whatever. It wasn't that interesting.
It's the best fucking record.
Yeah, he was really thought he was onto something.
Yeah, they were kind of funny.
But we had to we dealt with that kind of stuff a lot with different bands and thinking that they were the greatest thing in the world.
So we're pretty much towards the end of the
Okay.
Toxic thing. Juliana is ill at this point.
Yeah.
You got volunteers running the store,
Right.
and then Caruso's decides to jack the rent up on you.
Yeah. Caruso, no, he didn't do that. He decided, hey, we want you out of the building because we want to put an Italian-themed gift shop in your space. How much time do you need to get out of the building? He basically kicked us out. I said,
What was this? It seems like such a... that place is like a staple, right? Like, I mean...
Caruso's?
No, the record store, I mean, you were keeping it up, and I know you probably could have gone. It seemed like...
I was keeping up the...
It seemed like after Juliana got ill, had nothing to do with her getting ill necessarily, or maybe it did in some indirect way, but not in a negative way. Seemed like you guys were having a little bit of an upswing towards the end. I mean, maybe that was just in my mind.
Everybody knew we were going under.
Well, even before that, it felt like... I don't know. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but it felt like it was kind of getting a little... Yeah, I get it. Probably was just everybody getting...
I think it was just because they realized time was limited.
Yeah.
I told the Caruso's dude, which was our,
Landlord.
Yeah. I said, well, can you at least give us another Christmas? He says, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll give you through January of 2014, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, okay, great. I appreciate that, for whatever. So we stuck it out and we said, well, this is the last of it. I mean, people found out that we were going to be closing. And we decided, well, why don't we bring back those live shows and do them like every week or something, just to celebrate our
Legacy.
there you go, of the shop. And people wanted to play, and we had no problem finding bands to play every week. And gave people $1 off if they came in and whatever.
Bought something?
Gave them, what was the deal? It was $2 to get in, but you get $2 off any purchase you make.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're basically getting in for free if they bought something.
It was fun, man.
Yeah,
those were cool.
A lot of cool shit.
I remember I used to watch the door on most of those shows. Man.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. It wasn't.
But I remember people used to come in and get mad too. Though they'd be like, "You're really gonna charge me $2?" You're like, "Yeah, dude."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna charge you $2, dude.
Yeah, and you're you can have that $2 back. If you
Yeah,
just
and
buy
then
this-
all you got to do is
something.
buy something.
Is that asking too much? I guess it was. to
Yeah,
some
I guess
people.
this is no wonder the fucking store's going out of business, dude.
Yeah.
People would throw fits, man. I had a guy try and swing on me.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that go?
I fucked him up.
That's what I hear.
And then he tried to make a big stiff out of it and like called the store and complained and stuff. I was like,
I think
dude.
there was talk of a lawsuit or something.
He was talking
But
him being
I
a
think
fucking...
Shane said, I did damage control for you, so don't worry.
Yeah, he just blamed it all on me.
I guess.
Yeah, that's what he did, which was fine. I mean, I was proud of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, because those clothing shows, man, that was like a whole thing, and they went on for a few months, huh? It was like the whole last few months that you guys were open.
I think it was the last 6 months of our
Yeah.
existence. We had a show every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was mostly all Tucson band. I don't think anybody had, well, Jesus Chrysler. There was a band I put out in '88. They were from Tennessee, and they said, "Hey, Bill, we haven't been a band in 20 years. We don't even live in the same state anymore. We're all scattered across the country. We were thinking of doing a reunion show just at your shop."
Yeah, and then
So
the
that
Port
was-
Torta came through. That was fun.
Port Torta played with
Well, I
them.
guess they weren't really broken up at that point, but they were like seldom playing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they were.
Al Fowl played.
They did not.
Not Al Fowl. I'm sorry.
The other Al Perry.
Al Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fish Karma.
Yeah.
Sex, whatever.
Yeah. Sex
Territory,
Prisoner. Sex Prisoner just played. They're still popular to this day, man. They just
Yeah.
played a show, but I remember.
There's a line around the block for that one.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. I'm sitting there trying to like do crowd control on like that many. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Although every time I had to step up and do some sort of crowd control, like if I was like handling a situation, Shane would like come, "What's going on here?" "No, man, that's it. You gotta leave." And he'd be like, "Bruno, can you get him to leave?" I was like,
Yeah, you're the one that had to do the dirty work.
I know, pretty much all the time. I remember trying to remodel that place, and then like Shane was trying to supervise. I don't want to knock Shane too much; he's a good dude, but Shane's trying to supervise. "Bro, you need to put a
Oh,
screw."
you're talking the very last shop after we moved down.
Oh,
Winter
because we remodeled the first one. Remember,
yeah.
before when you
wall was
found out that
moved
you were
around.
leaving, we moved everything. We took the
Yeah.
equipment out the back and we expanded the floor space, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And that was pretty cool. That was a good way out, man. It's almost unfortunate, man. Had you been able to get away with doing those shows beforehand, man, probably would have. How were sales at that time?
Well, Shane was buying all those things that his friends wanted to buy, so they would buy them.
Yeah.
And other people would come in because they just felt like they should buy one last thing from us. It was okay. It wasn't like
It wasn't like substantial.
it wasn't like
Yeah.
anything major.
But
It,
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean,
it was fine.
it was fun.
We
So
appreciate the feeling of support from the community.
yeah, of
Put it
course.
that way. Yeah.
So what have you been up to since then? Because we could talk about the last store, but it's not really worth it.
The what?
We could talk about the little
Oh, that little wiener schnitzel?
wiener
That's not
schnitzel
even
store.
worth talking
Yeah, well, let's not talk
Yeah.
about it. But
Yeah, that
What-
was a dumb idea.
told you the swap meet wasn't moved. But whatever.
Yeah, that could have been something.
What have you been up to since then?
Well, retired from the airline thing, adapted to being a expert in hospitality.
Oh yeah,
Doing an
bartending
Airbnb
at the.
thing, Airbnb, and then my little hotel gig, and traveling as much as I can. Why not?
Yeah, you should,
So-
man. It's fun.
Yeah.
And then you're still doing your business as far as you're still selling some records
Still
and stuff
doing
like
the
that.
mail order T-shirt thing, records.
Remember
whatever.
ToxicShock.depop.com? ToxicShockRecords.depop.com.
Yeah, we got a website all fixed that has all the links on it now.
We got a
just say
website.
ToxicRanchRecords.com.
Toxic Ranch Records. Look in the camera and stuff.
Okay, ToxicRanchRecords.com.
Sick. Still selling stuff. Still having fun,
still
man.
doing it,
And you're
still
coming
living.
out with a book now.
Oh, right, there's a book. Yep, it's all the way from way before the record store, very beginning, all the way through to right about 2019.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, fucking A, man. And we, we're still out here
still out here.
making commercials and shit, dude.
Yeah,
Making the Jack-O-Lantern commercial
Pixies.
with the Pixie shirt. I see we got one person in here right now.
Oh, we got somebody finally.
We got somebody in here watching.
This is live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Right? Make yourself... I didn't want to tell you.
Better late than never, I guess.
Make yourself known, whoever's in here watching.
Maybe they don't want to.
Maybe they don't want to. But the one guy in this chat right now, ask us a question.
Okay.
Guy or girl, I can't tell who it is.
All right. What's the question?
I don't know.
Oh.
Who's in here? Oh, it's Eric Dodds. Eric Dodds. I know you got something to add. What's this?
How long has he been listening in? Just now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think.
All right, that's a wrap.
Is it a wrap? I guess so. Eric,
Yeah.
you got nothing to say?
He's fine.
I guess not.
Cat's goes like,
All right, guys.
all right.
Wait. Whatever. All right. You're watching this on your belly. Cool.
Watching this on your belly?
He's watching it on his belly. All right, man. We're signing off. We just did a long-ass interview. Oh, wait. Kicking my legs back and forth. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Good night.